Good evening, everyone. Welcome to City Council meeting on May 1st, a little after 6 o'clock. Can we get roll call, please?
Mayor Didball.
Here.
Vice Mayor Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Buckland.
Here.
Councilmember Cardoza.
Here.
Councilmember Cleveland.
Here.
Thank you. We're going to have invocation led by Councilmember Buckland and Pledge of Allegiance if Councilmember Harris can lead us on that.
Will you bow your heads as I pray? Dear wise and loving Father, we're grateful for your presence in this public meeting. Thank you for this day and the plentiful blessings you provide each of us. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Tonight, we remember 26 years ago, May 1st, 1992, when an event occurred at Lyndhurst High School that took the lives of Robert Brenz, the teacher, Jason White, Judy Davis, and Beeman Hill. That those three students and that teacher lost their lives 26 years ago today. I'd like to take just a minute of silence to remember them and the healing that their families still go through. We also pray for the survivors that today still struggle. They struggle daily with the consequences, and as they see more violence in our nation, around schools, let them be a voice that we listen to. Tonight I pray for your guidance in this meeting. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those that live and work in Yuba City and our surrounding communities. It's in your most blessed name that I pray. Amen. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so tonight we have a proclamation to be presented to Bob and Lee Jones. So if we can have both of them please come up. Hi. How are you? Good. Good to see you. Hi, Mayor. Hi. All right. So we have to face that way instead of your back. We have a proclamation here for you. So I'll give that to you. And I'm going to read a little bit here. Is this on? Welcome to Bob and Lee Jones, proprietors of the... Hello. Okay. All right. In 1983, Bob and Lee Jones opened their 1874 Victorian home as the Harkey House Bed and Breakfast Inn, located at 212 C Street in Yuba City. Bob and Lee Jones are dedicated and committed to preserving history in Yuba City, oldest and only bed and breakfast for the last 35 years. Bob and Lee Jones embrace and promote the local cuisine, and they plan their farm-to-fork breakfast menu around the fresh, locally grown ingredients from the local farmers market. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Preet Didball, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, and on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim and recognize the Harkey House Bed and Breakfast Inn, Bob and Lee Jones, for their 35 years of dedicated business owners and service to our community. Thank you so very much.
Okay, she said I could say a few words. I'll be brief. Okay, so 35 years ago, we went to the Planning Commission in the city and we said we wanted to open a bed and breakfast in Yuba City. And they said, yeah, I know what that is all about. I know you can do that, but who's going to want to come to Yuba City? So it's just amazing to see the growth, and thank you, Yuba City. C Street has developed with the redevelopment money, Gaucher Park, how many million to renovate Yuba City downtown restaurants and shops, and the growth here. We had the architect from Lowe's, the developer from Walmart, the big box. I saw a police force come in 35 years. We've had to call you one time. We have lovely guests, honeymooners from 18 to 80. We have business travelers and people come. I was looking at the logo. They come to hike the buttes. They come because we live in this beautiful Pacific Flyway. They come for the West Coast Falconry, or they come just to get away. They come for a funeral. They come for a high school reunion. Class of 55, Marysville High School, Yuba City High. Notre Dame, Class of 55 is coming, is booked. We turned down a booking tonight. So when the Planning Commission said, you want to do what, but who's going to want to come? This year we'll probably bring in, at last, $1 million. So we pay our taxes, we hire local contractors, we hire local roofers. All of that money goes back into the community. And we have the joy and the pleasure of welcoming guests literally from all over the world. We have partnerships with the hospital for traveling nurses. We have partnerships with Sutter County, with Yuba City, with consultants, and we welcome these lovely, lovely people who are amazed to find this oasis of a Victorian place in Yuba City. They appreciate the architecture. They really, really appreciate the diversity that our community has to offer. And the Punjabi Festival, we had a New York TV station come in. We could have booked 20 more rooms that night. So it's exciting to see from 83 to a neighbor said, Lee, you want to have strangers come to your house? What are you going to do if a colored guy knocks on your door? Rent him a room, okay? And we've done that. And people with alternative lifestyles, we book a room. Bob is the cook. He's the shy guy, but he's right at home in the kitchen, and his lavender scones are a specialty. And he ran it by himself for the many years that I was principal at Johnson Park School, and I was at Lyndhurst campus May 1st and saw the fear in those children's eyes. I will never forget when that shooting occurred at Johnson Park. We had an Earth Day barbecue on the playground. I know my 5th graders heard gunshots, and I don't know how much has changed since May 1st, 1992. We haven't made great strides in that. It's very, very sad that our children face that. Anyway, we're proud of Yuba City. We welcome Yuba City, and people are enjoying what we have to offer here. 35 years, it's gone, quickly. And he has 2 knee replacements. I'm a cancer survivor, so we just keep moving. The Energizer Bunny just keeps moving. Thank you, thank you.
Amazing group of folks. Thank you so much. Next, we have Tana Thomas. Hi, how are you? Well, good. I'll hand you this. So we have a proclamation. So Tana is from our Yuba City Senior Commission. This proclamation is recognizing May is the Older Americans Month. Yuba City is the home to many older Americans who enrich and strengthen our community. The local older adult population growth rate is 3 times higher than the growth rate of the population under the age of 60, primarily due to continued aging of local baby boomers and due to the increasing longevity. We can enrich the lives of individuals of every age by promoting home and community-based services that support independent living, involve older adults in the community, planning events and other activities, and providing opportunities to the older adults through work, volunteer, learning, and mentoring. Now, therefore, being it resolved, I, Preet Didball, Mayor of City of Yuba City, and on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim May 2018 to be the Older Americans Month. I urge every resident to take time during this month to recognize older adults and the people who serve them as a vital part of our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't like having my back to folks, but thank you, Mayor Didball and members of the Yuba City Council. It's my honor to accept this on behalf of the senior residents in our city, and I'm very grateful. I hope that all of you will remember the part that she said where the senior population is actually increasing faster than the under 60 population and will continue to do so. So we need to do what we can. Some of us are already there and some of us will be there soon. So we need to do what we can to help support and take care of our seniors. There are two other members of the Senior Commission in the audience. I'd like to have them stand. Tony Curlin in the back. There he goes standing. And Joanne Ellis. Thank you, and thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
So my mom is way in her late 70s. She has a walking group with the walkers. They all use their little walkers and they go together and they do tea time together and sometimes sit there and just tell old historic stories and their childhood stories. So any type of things that we can do to keep them vibrant and going and keep their brains moving and keep them from, just sitting on the couch and not doing much. I try to keep her out of the garden because she gets hurt, but she still keeps going back out there and I still have to keep getting her up. But anything that we can do to keep them vibrant and embracing their lives. So next we have, May is also our bike month. So we have both Brad McIntyre and Diana Langley.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we're going to take this opportunity to not only talk about May's Bike Month, but also the Bicycle Advisory Committee. So in this past year, we have implemented our safety campaign. We have the 3 feet for safety signs as well as the Go with the Flow. To date, 57 signs have been installed on Gray Avenue, Stabler Lane, and Butte House Road. We have approximately 120 additional signs to be installed. We anticipate that they will be completed by August. In terms of projects, we are focusing on 3 projects right now that improve bicycle safety and bicycle facilities. Those include the Franklin Avenue Improvement Project from Pelora Avenue to Gray Avenue, the Sanborn Road improvements from Bogue Road to Nan Drive, and then the Harder Parkway Path and Park. So for the Franklin Road Improvements Project, it provides Class 2 bike lanes and sidewalks. We're expecting construction in the fall of 2018, and the engineer's estimate is $776,000. It's broken down with a grant of $376,000 through the Active Transportation Program and then $400,000 in road funds. So this project is located between Highway 99 and Gray Avenue. And as you can see, it includes curb, gutter, and sidewalk on both sides, and then widening for bike lanes. The next project is the Sanborn Road improvements, which will provide paved shoulders for bicyclists and pedestrians. We're expecting construction this fall with an engineer's estimate of $285,000, of which $85,000 is through a FRACMID grant. Here's a photo of the project. And then the next project is the Harder Parkway Park and Bike Path. So we're proposing the installation of a phase 1 of a new park in the Harder Parkway area and a shared bicycle pedestrian path from Harder Parkway to Jefferson Avenue. The construction is expected to take place in spring of 2019 with a total project cost of $1.8 million. The other project that we will be working on this year with the Bicycle Advisory Committee is the update of the Bicycle Master Plan. It was adopted in 2011, and the need for the update is driven by to reflect completed projects, reprioritize projects, and also update cost estimates. So we're expecting to start that process this fall. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brad McIntyre, who will talk about the statistics from our police department and then also May's Bike Month.
Good evening, council members. So the first stat is approximately 300 citations were issued from our police department to our citizens. Typically, they were one of 3 categories: riding on the wrong side of the road, failure to stop at a stop sign, and helmet violations. A majority of them came, citations were helmet violations. We had 20 bicycle-involved accidents last year. The police department put on 2 bicycle rodeos at our 2 local schools, Andros Caperos and Bridge Street School. For our May is Bike Month activities, you'll notice that you received some shirts from our Bicycle Advisory Committee promoting May is Bike Month. National Bike to Work Day is going to be Friday, May 18th. We will have 2 Energizer stations during the week of May 9th and Friday, May 18th. Energizer stations are set up about 7 a.m. in the morning. It's for bicyclists that are going to work. We want to promote riding, obviously, to work. And there's juices and fruit, and we hand out swag at that time. The Energizer stations are being manned and volunteered by our Bicycle Advisory Committee, and this year, our new partner, Yuba City Triathlon Club. Also, Police Department will be going to Priorities, Inc., which is a disability program for adults in our community. And then on May 16th, they'll be attending Tierra Buena School. For the audience out there, if you're interested in participating in May is Bike Month, you can go to this website at mayisbikemonth.com. You can enter your information. You can track your miles. They have random draws for swag or free things if you like. Last year we had over 90 participants in the city ride their bikes and sign up for May is Bike Month, and we logged in over 12,800 miles. So that concludes our presentation, and we gladly entertain any questions at this time.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions? Comments?
Just one question for Diana. Diana, going back to Franklin Road and the improvements that are being made through there, could you just go a little bit more into how that grant came about, what we're doing, and just the improvements? If folks don't know what that roadway looked like on the south side of Franklin Road, there were no improvements along there. That's where an area of proposed annexation butts up to that, and so there were no improvements. Had a dirt shoulder in some areas, no sidewalks. The roadway narrowed down, and I think just another example of when council brings forward, and I know that Councilmember Cleveland, when he was mayor, brought this project forward, trying to get this thing to finally be put on the books and get it as an improvement. But if you could just talk a little bit about how that money comes about and what we're looking to do with that.
So the active transportation grant program is administered, we submitted the application to SACOG. So there's the state level and then the regional level. And this project was successful based upon the fact that we're providing facilities for bicyclists and pedestrians. With this being a major route to Yuba City High School, there's a high volume of bicyclists and pedestrians that use this. And with it being an unpaved shoulder, there's a lot of drainage issues. You have vehicles sneaking over into the shoulder, which is extremely dangerous for the bicyclists and pedestrians. And so with this, we will be providing dedicated facilities for both so that you can have shared use between the vehicles, bicyclists, and pedestrians. We are partnering with the county. They will be paying for their share of the project that's located within the county on the south side of Franklin.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any
I
other
am going to,
questions?
since he had made comment, I was going to keep quiet, but since I lived by the high school and everything, and I drive that route quite often, I'm so surprised that nobody's been hit and seriously injured along there in the last couple of years, because I have watched them have to jump out of the way of cars that have decided that dirt shoulder and the bike lane is their lane to get over to Polara and wherever they wanted to do, putting ruts, 8, 10, 12 inches deep, and I'm just surprised nobody's gotten hurt. And that's why the delineators are up there now. That's kind of getting people safe for a while and then getting them used to that. And then when this goes in, they'll see how they'll have actually truly 2 lanes to actually move that way for that last part. So a improvement for the pedestrians, the bicycle riders, and the people in cars is coming. So it's going to be an improvement for everyone. And I've been trying to do this actually longer than just a couple years. When I was at the county, I was always looking for ways to divert money to get that done, because I've noticed it about 6 years ago. And so thank you for being creative and for pushing hard at SACOG. Appreciate that. Citizens will love it.
Okay, great, thank you. Next, we have George, who's going to go over the digital front door.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I'm privileged to be here today. My name is George Barlow. I'm an analyst here at City Hall in the administration department to present the digital front door team. So maybe a first question is why do we call it digital front door? If we look at our front doors that we have at City Hall, and our population that we have here within the city, we actually reach more people digitally on the web than we do through our front doors here right at City Hall. So we put together a team called the Digital Front Door Team, and that team is comprised of every department. We have at least one individual within every department on the team, and that team is really put together for a mission. And our mission is really to take that digital information, enhance that information, and that approach to our citizens, and really be able to communicate and improve communication through the web or in a digital interface. When we approach this, we really want to enhance how we do it. So we want that dual communication, not only one way from us to our citizens, but also our citizens back to the city. 2017 accomplishments, website analytics. 2017, we really started diving into our website and looking at how does our website interface with the public? How does our public approach our website? And one way to do that is through things like Google Analytics to check out and see exactly which pages are being approached, how the citizens are approaching maybe animal services or police services or anything within City Hall itself. So we want to look at those things. We have, and we looked at the accessibility, the speed of the website. Is it too slow? Are there particular things on there that aren't interesting? And because someone may go to a particular page, like our home page, how much information is put on our home page versus other pages that we have? Improve page content, and actually that brand, that imaging that we're putting out there. If we take a look at our website, the approach, how someone may actually look at various services, and how does our homepage interact that way? Can people access every single service on our homepage? And our homepage does do that. You can go to every single service the city establishes by the homepage. And make sure that it's interactive. Like this, we have our Community Service Award. You can click on it and brings up a award nomination for our Community Service Award. Last month, we did an Easter egg hunt on our website. So we actually embedded little eggs on our website, various locations, put it out on Facebook. This is our Facebook post. And what it did, gave people a link to our homepage. They would hunt around for various eggs, and it really became interactive with our citizens. We had actually 340 entries into our Easter egg hunt, but what's amazing is that our webpage hits are about 2,500 per day. When we did this, we were up to about 8,900 per day. So by having people go to various spots, they really learned how to interact in our site. And we got a lot of comments on Facebook saying, very good, hey, I found something that I didn't know was there. So it really gave good information. YC311, just about 5,000 users on the app. If you haven't downloaded the app, please do so. It really helps out our citizens, and it helps out us as the service providers. So you can do a graffiti. If you see graffiti, actually take a picture, put it on the YC31 report. If you see things like potholes or a shopping cart out there, you can report those as well. What's neat about the YC311 app is that we looked at how can we enhance it, what can we do to provide other services on the app. If you look at the app face on the left-hand side there, you can actually pay a bill. So you can pay your water bill right from that app. If you're looking for a job, you can actually go to the job center right from that app. So additional services in one app. Facebook. At the end of 2016, we had 8,700 followers. At the end of 2017, we had over 15,000 followers. Now, why am I mentioning this? If we look at cities about our size have anywhere from 63 to about 8,700 followers on their Facebook. So 15,000 is a big deal because it's a different way that we can actually communicate. Now, people say Facebook is for us baby boomers. It's not for the younger crowd any longer. But amazing that we have that reach, that capability to communicate back and forth with users. This is one way we did it. A poll. You can actually do polls on Facebook. Since May is Bike Month, I actually did a poll 2 hours before I came in here, put it on Facebook. The question is, May is Bike Month. Will you be riding your bike? Yes or no? 27% said yes, 73% said no, out of 11 votes. So as you see there, 354 people reached from that post, and that's only about a 2-hour span. But different ways like this, we can actually communicate with citizens. Citizens can actually communicate back with us as well. Why Connect, our newsletter, monthly newsletter that we actually send out, we reach 14,000 emails with this newsletter. Newsletter content is like a blog content that has various services that Yuba City provides and information, things that are actually happening within the city. We have about 38% open rate, meaning that about 5,000 folks actually open up that email and read that email. Now, if we're taking a look at statistics, when you actually send out emails, about 12% of people generally will open up an email. So 38%, very good percentage on actually open rate. Our goals, continue improvements. We really want to enhance our website so the interface is really engaging with folks, a little bit better than even today. Our innovative approach to our public engagement. There's many different formats out there that we can actually utilize, but the driving force is actually our website. If we look at our website, then it goes out to other social media sources and those type of platforms as well. But our single most activity and engagement is our website. This year we want to do put in 3 different media platforms. One is Snapchat. So I mentioned just a minute ago, Facebook is getting old. Snapchat is the new thing. So we want to reach all different types of demographics within our website, our media, and our approach to social media. So Snapchat is one of those. Cinemark is another one. Actually getting into the movies has been a new approach, a good approach. Not for some, but for us, it has been new. So we want to do more of that. Get into where you have a single set audience to promote different services that we have here at the city. And produce council recap videos. Not saying that council meetings are boring. Thought I'd get more of a laugh out of that. But really bringing in a recap of the council meeting. So it's only about a 2-minute recap of recapping everything that went on during that particular council meeting. And it gives that audience that small chip of information so that it engages them what's happening in our council meetings. And produce multiple short type videos so that it engages with the city on things that we do, like this one. Just hit rec.
Maybe.
Welcome to the Yuba City Police and Fire Communication Center. Hi, my name is Tanya Smallwood with the Yuba City Police and Fire Communication Center. 911 is for life and death emergencies only.
911, what is your emergency? You want to order a pizza?
Such as medical aids, crimes in progress, fire, or the threat of.
911 emergency. I've got fire and rescue on the way. Are you right next to the patient? I'm gonna give you instructions on how to do CPR.
911 emergency. How many shots did you hear?
If you do not have an emergency, the number you should know is 822-4660.
So a short little video engaging the audience on services that we provide. Katie Goodson and Elliot Peters, who are on our team, produce this. So something neat, something short, maybe something that that our citizens don't understand that we might do here at the city, or good information like this. And then last month we had our first award of our Community Service Award. It was Jill Dittmer. She was our first Community Service Award recipient. Through the Digital Front Door team, we actually received these nominations. We put this out on Facebook. It's on, like I showed you, our homepage. And what it does is really emphasize those individuals that really contribute to the quality of life here in Yuba City. So anybody can nominate those individuals based on criteria and submit those to the team. The team, once a quarter, chooses that individual based on the criteria, and we present it to that individual to council. Any questions?
Thank you, George. Any questions, any comments? That was great. Thank you very much.
All right, so we have item number 5, ordinance. It's a rezone to facilitate the development of a 38-unit gated apartment complex located on the east side of Tharp Road, approximately 580 feet south of Butte House Road. We have Mr. Rodriguez, who's going to present our staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Arnoldo Rodriguez, Development Services Director. The item before you this evening is a request to rezone roughly 4.7 acres of property from the commercial zone district to the multifamily residential zone district. If approved, it would facilitate the development of a 38-unit apartment complex. Simply for background purposes, the council may recall that this item was initially considered and partially approved by the council at its March 20th meeting. And the reason I say partially is because the rezone application had a couple of companion projects. Specifically, it had the environmental assessment, it had a general plan amendment, and it had a development plan that went with it. Back on March the 20th, the city council approved those, and because this is an ordinance, it does take the first reading and the second reading, so this evening it is the second reading, so I will keep it extremely brief. So again, if approved, it would modify the zoning of the property to the multifamily residential district, which prior to it being the commercial zone district, it was historically planned and zoned for apartments. So at one point it was planned and zoned for apartments. I'm gonna say back in, I believe in the mid-2000s, it was rezoned for for commercial, and now it's going back to what it originally was. So here's an aerial site. The site itself, it's on the east side of Tharp Road, immediately to the south of the North Shopping Center. The access itself, or the site itself, is going to be accessed along Tharp Avenue. It's going to have a pedestrian gate to the north into the North Shopping Center, and it's also going to have a pedestrian gate into the Feather Down Shopping Center, which the anchor stores there are the Grange, Bel Air, and the CVS. So with that being said, that actually concludes staff's presentation, simply because staff presented a fairly exhaustive report and presentation back on March the 20th. So no questions this evening. That concludes staff's presentation, and we recommend that you adopt the ordinance and waive the second reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you did give us a very long report last time, so.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
I'd like to just give a little, something about we attended yesterday, the SACOG Regional Futures Forum. And while some people sometimes question why are we putting apartments in the middle of the types of business and industrial and offices for medical and then stores, well, actually that's the model that is being encouraged, to have apartment, which would be low impact to the environment. They're walkable, they're close to easy transportation, bus systems, and easy to get around. And that is being highly encouraged. So I'm actually pleased that it's going back to this, and this is kind of some of the way we would like to go, where it's done correctly, where it's not overly loud and stuff for the residents to live there. And this seems to be a very good location for this. And with that, I would like to move to adopt an ordinance rezoning 4.68 acres from the community commercial C2 zone district to the multiple family residential R3 zone district, and waive the second reading.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We have, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, thank you. Let's see. Oh, public communication. You are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on items listed on the agenda when they are called. Public comment on the items not listed on the agenda will be heard at this time. Comments on controversial items may be limited, with large groups who are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. Do we have anyone who would like to speak at this time? No?
There were no written requests we see.
Okay. And as far as written request, we did receive, I do want to acknowledge that we did receive an email from Mr. Philip Trainer, and there's questions on there, and staff will get back to Mr. Trainer with the questions and answers on those. And no other written request at this time. So, any members of the public who wish to address the City Council on items of interest that are within the city's jurisdiction may do so. Individuals addressing general comments are encouraged to limit their statements to 3 minutes. Do we have anything? No? Okay, so now we have our consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items prior to time that the council votes on the motion unless members of the city council, staff, or the public request any particular items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. Do we have anyone who would like to discuss anything separate
to
or a
approve.
motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Great. Okay, next, item number 13, we have the Sam Brannan Park Court restoration and conversion, approval of the plans and report by Mr. McIntyre.
You should have, yeah. Good evening again, Mayor and members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Brad McIntyre, Community Services Director. I'm here this evening requesting staff, on behalf of staff, requesting council to adopt a resolution approving the plans and specs for the Sam Brannan Court restoration and conversion. In addition, authorizing staff to go out to bid for the project. Just a little background, Sam Brannan Courts were built in 1965. A majority of us, I don't think, were born yet. Well, it's okay, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
Nice
try. Because we're all young at heart. We're all young at heart. My gosh. I'll just end my presentation now. Thank you very much.
Make it quick.
So we've got a couple of pictures that show how bad the court is. We have resurfaced this court at least 10 times during that period of time, since 1965. And so the facility is definitely underutilized. And so the proposed conversion layout includes 8 pickleball courts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are fences that go in between the courts. These boxes right here are shade covers with benches. We have ADA accessibility coming in. We have 2 other access points coming in right here and right over here. And of course, we have the tennis court. This project would be a complete demo and a complete rebuild. The popularity of pickleball is increasing. I believe we have somebody that will be speaking on behalf of that here in a few minutes, so I won't be redundant or take you through it. But it is a multi-generational sport. These are local athletes playing pickleball. The color of the court surfaces I anticipate will be pretty much the same colors as you see there as far as the typical blue and green court surface. You can play pickleball with your left hand or your right hand, and it is for the young at heart as well. I do want to talk about the pickleball equipment. By the way, Councilman Buckland, you did a great job demonstrating that for us earlier.
Thank-
Do I get the booze on that too?
So thank you. No, I appreciate you got a really good photo and a nice angle. So
Pickleball is played with 2 paddles that are fairly small and wiffle ball. The wiffle ball makes the game slower and more of a reactive game, and there's a lot of action to the game. Before I show our next slide, this project is really brought to you by our community. We have 3 very strong community members, organizations that have generously donated $25,000 each. They are partners in this project. They are people in our community that live in our community that believe Yuba City is a great place to work, live, and play. Those 3 partners are, from left to right, our Yuba City Rotary Club, the Friends of Yuba City Parks and Recreation Foundation, and Yuba City Unified School District. I believe all 3 will speak here to their excitement as it relates to the project. Estimated timeline and costs. So we are hoping by the end of May to go out to bid. Our desire is to award a contract if it is within the interest of the city. Construction would start sometime in the summer, and completion and ribbon breaking sometime early fall is what I predict. Our engineer's estimate projected costs currently right now is $270,000. And I would gladly entertain any questions at this time.
Wonderful, thank you. Any questions for Brad at this time from council? If not, we'll go ahead and open it to the public.
I got a question.
Yeah.
We have a 75,000 in donations. Where are we getting the other 200?
So through our community development block grant, we have applied for funds, and we anticipate some rollover from this year from CDBG, and then I know council will be reviewing CDBG funds in the near future. We've also have reallocated funds from our vehicle replacement fund, meaning that we had 2 vehicles in recreation. Those 2 vehicles are not used enough to really justify the purchasing of 2 new vehicles, so we've reallocated those funding. And then through the community services budget, adopted budget from last year, I anticipate approximately 30,000 rollover from that as well. So
Thank you, Brett.
at this time, we are not asking council for any additional general fund money.
Okay. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, so at this time, I'll go ahead and open it to the public. We do have some speaker cards, so we'll just go right in order here. Dale? There you are. Rotary Club of Yuba City.
So we brought a few of our members down today to show just who the Rotary Club of Yuba City, or some of the members are anyway. We actually have 75 members in our club. As many of you know, our club takes on a huge fundraiser each year in our crab feed. Many of you have been to the crab feed, and each year we usually choose one or several projects to put the monies towards. Obviously, we have several scholarships and other things we put money towards, but this year we really wanted to do something to benefit the parks in Yuba City. And so what we did was January, February, I think we started talking about this, and Brad proposed that we were working on a pickleball court and trying to get funding for that. And realistically, that was something that we had several members that actually play pickleball. And some of them are self-proclaimed first and second tier pickleball players in our community, as number 1 and number 2 in the entire community. So we'll just go with that. Pickleball obviously has a huge following in the surrounding areas, Sacramento, Lincoln, Chico. Chico has waiting lists for people that play. And anyway, so, and to help with your decision tonight, what I was going to do is ask our Rotarian members and their spouses that have come tonight, just so you know what this club represents in the community, and we were going to present you with a check for $25,000. So if I could have everybody come up front. Both sides here. Mayor, if we could have him come up and accept the check.
Steve, step up there. You're right there. Come on, Steve. Come on, Steve. Neutral ground, okay.
I got it, Bill. I got it. Darren, you guys need to have a picture. Darren, you're part of the picture. So with that, Mayor. Okay, we're live. So with that, we'd like to offer to you a check for $25,000 to the city of Yuba City. And hopefully this will help you with, persuade you with your decision tonight. Anyway, nothing like a short, right. So that's what we're here for. Rotary Club of Yuba City. So thank you very much.
That is wonderful. Thank you. Next, we have Michael Barrett. Barrett? Sorry.
Oh.
I don't know about all that. Okay, I have a short video that I'd like to show you first.
Michael, can you state, just for the record, can you state your name? and
Yes,
your
Michael
address?
Barrett,
Mr.
Mr. Pickleball.
Get the better you were as an athlete back in the day. But most folks still feel they have a lot of fight left in them, even if they can't cover as much ground as quickly as back in the day. That may explain the rise of a sport that is growing quickly in popularity. If you've heard of pickleball or you already play it, then you know. If you've never heard of something called pickleball, you're about to get a crash course in a fast-growing activity from NBC's Mark Potter.
If the pickleball craze has not yet hit your town, stand by. It's on its way. Pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in America and can be played by just about anyone, including 91-year-old Lee Kritzer, vying for a medal at a pickleball tournament in Delray Beach, Florida.
It gives you exercise, it's fun, social, and it's competitive.
Although it's exploded recently, pickleball was invented almost 50 years ago near Seattle. A combination of tennis, badminton, and ping pong. It's played with a paddle and a wiffle ball on a short court, which attracts older players who can still win without having to run too far.
You can compete with the younger people by using your head, and while they try to use their speed. You outthink them.
The American pickleball capital may well be the Villages, a huge retirement community near Orlando. Even with 140 pickleball courts, players form lines each morning to get a game. The USA Pickleball Association says the game is spreading around the world and easily has more than 150,000 players. A fun, fast-moving sport with a funny name.
That's wonderful.
Members of the City Council, my name is Michael Barrett. I am president of the Yuba City Pickleball Club. I learned how to play pickleball a year ago in Mexico. I played with persons in age range from 14 to 88 years old. Upon my return, I discovered I could play in Chico, Oroville, Grass Valley, Rockland, Roseville, Folsom, and Sacramento, but nothing here in the Yuba City area. I therefore decided to form a local pickleball club to organize and grow the sport in our area. We are a nonprofit 501c3 corporation dedicated to the amateur sport of pickleball. In only 9 months, we've become very popular and now have grown to 35 members, ranging in ages from 20 to 78, including my 24-year-old son, who loves the sport and gives these guys all a lot of competition. We've also had a lot of drop-ins from out of the state who love to stop by and play just because they're here and they found us on the USAPA website. Surrounding cities have state-of-the-art pickleball facilities and courts. Pickleball is growing rapidly all over the world. That video was made in 2014, and he said 150,000. We are now over 2.8 million players in the United States in 4 years. Pickleball is growing. We remain very committed to collaborating with the city of Yuba City to make pickleball a great addition to our recreational sports in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next we have David Williams.
All right, good evening, council members. First and foremost, my name is David Williams. My address is 1611 Hunter Way here in Yuba City. I didn't bring a large check with me, but I will challenge your number 1 and 2 ranking over there because I've been playing for a while now. So I started learning about pickleball. I'm a PE teacher in the area. I work at Gray Avenue Middle School right next to San Brandon Park. But my first encounter with pickleball was at Chico State University. We had a tennis court right on the outside of our building, and that was something we did between classes or just when we had some free time, because all you needed was a ball and a paddle, and you can go out there and play and enjoy yourself. And for those that aren't as good at tennis, it's a good introduction to tennis to kind of get the foundation for it. But that being said, I'm a PE teacher at Gray Avenue, and I've been taking my students, because we have a gate that goes through the park, and I've been taking my students for the past 3 or 4 years into the tennis courts that they have. But like Mr. McIntyre said, the facilities aren't as strong as they could be with the cracks. And I've actually brought duct tape and fixed nets at times. I've brought my own chalk so I can actually mark the pickleball courts. For example, I brought measurements to make sure they were accurate for my students. And it's just something that my students have really enjoyed. It was kind of our highlight of our school year. I brought a big giant pickle jar. And each winter, we have a tournament at the end. I put their names on there, and it goes in our trophy case at our school, and the kids just get a kick out of it. It's right in front of the library, and they walk by, and they just enjoy seeing the name, and they want to strive to get that. So I think seeing 8 courts rather than the 4 tennis courts I have now, I can bring more and more students over there and kind of introduce them to the sport that I love, and it seems like a lot of people I didn't even know loved in the area. So thank you.
Thank you. Great. Next, we have John Cassidy. John?
Council members, John Cassidy, 2057 Pheasant Drive. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thanks for entertaining this wonderful project. And I want to thank you for making this Older Americans Month for me to be here tonight. So I fit right in. Want to introduce a few of our members of the Friends Foundation you may not know. Michelle, stand up. Karen and Sharon. Where's Judy? I saw her. Did you? There you go. Cool. Yeah. So great group. Thank you. We're excited as a foundation to be able to throw $25,000 at this project. Unlike Rotary, we didn't bring a check because it's the modern age, and with George Barlow's wonderful presentation, we'll be digitally sending you those funds at some point, right, Brad? And
it's a direct deposit.
The city is to be commended because this is one of the fastest growing sports in the world. It might be the fastest growing sport in the United States right now. And having a state-of-the-art facility where you can attract tourism, which is always a goal for this community, and I think it'll help a lot. And I commend the council for entertaining this and hopefully approving it. And congratulations, Brad, on bringing a great project to the city. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. George, I think we have direct deposit available for John, right? Okay, I don't have any other cards. Would anybody else like to speak? No? Okay, we'll bring it back to council for discussion or motion. Yep.
Brad, maybe the hours of the park are to sunset, but is there lighting? Is that planned, part of the deal too? All right.
Yes, and there's current lighting right now, and actually we upgraded our lighting 2 years ago with Optera when they came in and did a contract for the entire city. And so, yeah, the lights will be on until 10 p.m.
Thank you.
Through the mayor?
Yes.
I know I go to occasional events there, invited by community groups and stuff, and I would look over there and go, tennis courts aren't being used and they're getting old, and wondering, what can we do? What can we do to make that happen? And what sport could go in there? And I'm just thrilled that we're able to finally get the facilities going to be back up to a level to where it will be very active, and it'll also deter some of the less desirable parts of our community from camping out in that area, because there'll be so many people they won't want to be there. That's just a side benefit from that. We have to deal with them in other ways, the homeless or whatever, and we're still trying to help them, but it will definitely be utilized. I'm thrilled to see that it's going to be having kids back in there again, and lots of them. So. I'm still a kid, and I'm one of those older seniors now too.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
So I have to be really honest. I've never played pickleball. done a little bit of tennis in the past and have coached some tennis, but is there foul language in this game? Does it occasionally come out? The pros that are here. And the only reason I ask is because we're facing this thing right up against another park that has some alternative uses around it. So I think we really need to focus on it initially to make this successful. And I mean this in a very serious way. We need to really ratchet up the enforcement at our skate park to make sure that people aren't being run off or not going there because of certain elements that do hang out there. And we need to enforce our decorum requests at that location and really make this an area to strive that folks are going to go and frequent all the time. So I think it's awesome.
Great. Thank you. I think this project is great and so well needed here, so I'm all for it. My other request would be right after this is done, let's do bocce ball too. That's another one.
We have one at King Avenue.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? Any motion?
Go ahead.
Just real quick. Thank you to all the donors. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it's really appreciated. So thank you to everybody for that.
Definitely.
And through the mayor, I'll make the motion to adopt the resolution approving the plans, specifications of San Brendan Cork restoration and conversion, and advertise bids for the project.
Do we have a second?
Can I amend?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'd like to amend it. The amendment would be to also receive the donations that have been promised forward on this project, that they'd be included in, and I think we should welcome those as part of the entire project to be able to bring this forward. Is there have been some generous donations made by groups, and I think we ought to receive those monies at the very same time.
So added what he said, so be it.
Okay, so we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. And now it's going to be a mad rush out. Nobody wants to stay? Nobody wants to stay?
They're headed to Chico to play ball.
Bob Brenton's staying.
Of course.
See you at lunch tomorrow. I mean Thursday.
Hey, John, when you're done wearing that coat, we're about the same size. Can I borrow it?
Oh, John, there's a big price. But everything's for sale.
All right.
Okay. Well, George, you were right. They didn't want to stay. Okay. Next, we have agenda item 14. It's the SB1 road maintenance and rehabilitation account project list 2018-2019. Ben.
All right, good evening, Mayor and members of the council. That's a tough act to follow here, but I'll try to keep your attention. So what I have before you is basically an annual approval and submittal to obtain SB1 funding. So last year, approximately almost a year ago, in the end of April 2017, the California signed into law SB1, which basically increased the taxes on fuel tax and registration fees, with funding starting to come in as of January 2018. And so with that requirement, with that bill, there was a big push for accountability and transparency, which required the agencies that are wanting to receive that money develop a project list and have it adopted by their local agency in the budget, and also report back with some accounting yearly. So we did this not too long ago, maybe 6 months ago, when right before when it was going into effect, and now we're getting into an annual cycle where we're going to come forward every May, before May, to submit to the CTC with the project list on how
we're proposing to spend the money or allocate the money. Now, with that, there is a lot of flexibility in the funding that allows. It doesn't have to necessarily be spent on the list, but that's where the goal is. And so right now the funding's eligible for road maintenance, rehabilitation, safety projects, complete street components, traffic control devices, a lot of different public works functions. And so with that, we're slated for the 17-18 year to receive $385,000, which was slightly less than the original projection. Due to accounting and when the money came in. And then we're going to be on this approximately 1.1 to 1.2 annually for budgeting into the road fund. With that, we've developed a project list that basically identifies these roads highlighted. We've identified them and we'll submit them to CTC with approval. The list was developed based on our pavement management software and city priorities and traffic volumes. This year, a particular project that we're slating money for is to be a cost share with the Franklin Avenue improvements that were talked earlier, and then also stockpile money for Bridge Street corridor improvements where we could leverage money. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I recommend approving the project list and adopting a resolution that I can submit to the CTC. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions?
Madam Mayor, I just want to clarify something that I've shared with at least one of you, if not more, regarding the amount of money that we have dedicated to roadway improvements annually. The Public Works Department identified several years ago a number of $6 million in order to adequately maintain our roads. It needs to be invested on an annual basis. The number with these funds, it's about 1.5 million. I misspoke. I said the number was 3 million. I was thinking of a different number at the time, but so we're funding at about the 25% level. So that said, this is helpful, these funds. So thank you.
Great, thank you for
Through the mayor.
Yes.
Ben, how, if there's a current repeal effort on SB1 that is being pushed forward, if that were to be successful, what would that do to the funding level as we would be going forward into the future years?
It would be tough, honestly. Right now, the road funds come in from various gas taxes that have been decreasing, and while operating costs have been increasing and construction costs have been increasing. So currently, those existing funding from the road fund is paying for the operations, and really this new money is paying for projects with some TDA money. And so without this 1.1, it would put as Steve mentioned, we're looking for, just to maintain where we're at, approximately $6 million a year. And so with the existing funding levels plus this, we're only having about 1.5. And so with the loss of 1.2 in change, we're losing that ability to match grant funds and to put out projects. And so it would put a detriment to the road fund.
Thank you.
Any other questions or motion?
Through the mayor, staff's recommendation, approve of staff's recommendation.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Great, thank you. Next, we have the wastewater treatment facility improvement project, approval of plans and establishment of minimum project experience requirements, sole source purchase of equipment, and the award of contract management services. That was a mouthful. And we have Mandeep. Thank you.
Mayor and the council members, good evening. Tonight I will be presenting the wastewater treatment facility improvements project. The plan and specifications of this project have been completed by the design engineer, which has been approved by the council in November 2016. And at the end of the presentation, I will be making some recommendations to move forward on this project. in the background, our wastewater treatment facility that serves our community to treat the wastewater and also to meet the regulatory requirements from the state and the federal government has been began operation in 1972, over just over 45 years. And the current permitted capacity of our plant is 10.5 MGD, the annual average flow. And the current average flow that is coming into the facility is 6.5 MGD, 6.5 million gallons a day. So this picture shows the aerial view of the major components or the process units of the facility. This facility has 2 treatment trains. One is the liquid train, treatment of the liquid, and then the handling of the solids. And this picture shows the proposed project that we are going to make recommendations on. This project consists of the replacement of the existing one of the bar screens, and digester lid replacements, and then the new dewatering facility construction, and the facility-wide electrical and control system improvements throughout the facility. And most of our electrical system is over 45 years old and need replacement. So this project has been identified as a capital improvement program, and generally the capital improvement program projects are being designed and constructed to last for over 30 years of time. So in a big picture, this project falls into a big picture CIP project, and so there is a absolute need to proactively address the aging facility infrastructure and to also address the safety concerns out of those aging facility infrastructure, and also to procure and install suitable equipment to meet the plant specific needs for today's needs and also the anticipated future needs. And our design engineer did some studies, technical studies, and life cycle cost analysis plays an important part in the selection of the technology and what type of improvements we are going to improve. And based on those analyses and the studies, this project went into design, and the design is complete on this project. So this slide shows the list of the priority 1 and priority 2 projects that has been were part of 2016 rate study. The red ink project shows the projects in the project that we are talking today. The green ink shows the project that has been completed with 50% grant from the state. And the projects in the black ink are in the other phases of either pre-design or design or planning stages. And they're going to be coming into the future for council's consideration. So one of the project is the plant headworks, where all the wastewater from the community enter into the wastewater facility, the 2 bar screens. And these bar screens are over about approximately 18 years old, and they are not reliable. They have a lot of maintenance issues, very complicated maintenance, including safety concerns for the repair personnel. And they require most of the time, confined space entry, which is very difficult.
Through the mayor, on some of these, if you could go and maybe explain the depth of that and what it does, just a little bit more in depth, I think it would be suitable for the public to know. You're looking at those, absent the smell in that room, yes. Which I think would be helpful to shorten the process. But if you could kind of explain on each one of these what they're doing and the purpose for them.
Absolutely. So here at the headworks, as I mentioned earlier, the wastewater enter into the wastewater facility through a 54-inch diameter pipeline, And the wet well, these bar screens are installed in the ground, is about 25 feet deep. And there's not a whole lot of room for the maintenance needs. So we need an equipment to that we can maintain above ground that doesn't require entry. So what does these bar screens do? They screen the large materials like tree branches or some clouds or some other things. So openings in the bar screens is about 1/4 inches. So any stuff that is more than 1/4 inch in size gets captured in these bar screens before the water goes to further treatment. So our design engineer did a technical study to look at the different technologies available in the market and all the different available bar screen equipment based on our established design criteria to meet our plant specific needs, and also to satisfactorily performance history of those units that they studied. And based on their study, they are recommending to sole source a bar screen equipment to Dupron Corporation. And staff also visited Napa Sanitation District, where Dupron bar screens have been installed within the last 10 years, and we talked to their maintenance staff, we talked to their operations staff, and they're very satisfied with the performance of those bar screens. So the next process unit is we are talking about on this project is the digesters. So the digesters digest the sludge, the solids, to stabilize them. It's like a digestion process, like in our stomach. They need a minimum of 15 days of retention time of all the solid that enter into the digester, and it's a biological process to stabilize the solids. And then the digester sludge goes to the dewatering process, where we take the water out, most of the bulk of the water out, before it goes to the landfill. So these digesters have been in service for over 45 years. And their covers are floating covers, and they are rusting, and they're structurally not safe. And engineer's recommendation is to replace them with a different type of covers. Our design engineer did a technical study to check what type of covers are available and which are suitable for our treatment plant. And their recommendation is to replace the existing covers with the fixed covers. On the fixed covers, there are two different types. One is the coated carbon steel covers. They're low in cost, but they're expensive in maintenance, that we have to take the digesters down out of service for a month or two to recoat them in order to extend their life. So there is a lot of maintenance costs associated with that. The other alternative is the stainless steel. Stainless steel does not require any coating, and they're very minimal in maintenance, and they do not require any downtime on them. So recommendation is from the design engineer based on the cost, although the cost of the fixed stainless steel covers is higher, but their life cycle cost is lower as compared to the coated carbon steel covers. And next slide shows the difference. The stainless steel's initial cost, just for the covers only, is approximately $4.4 million, whereas the coated carbon steel covers is $3 million initial cost, which is $1.4 million less than the stainless steels. However, if we compare about 40 years or 40 to 45 years of life cycle cost analysis, the cost for the coated carbon steels, which includes coating and the maintenance, goes to $4.9 million. And another important aspect is that as we receive more flow with the community growth, we, in order to do the coating of those covers, we will not be able to take a digester out of service for a month or two to do the coating. because that will shorten the sludge retention time less than required 15 days. So what that will require is the addition of a third digester that in today's dollars, the estimated cost for the third tank is $10 million.
I'd like to make a comment on this. I've worked in these smaller size plant like this, and we had different materials. We had the carbon based, and then we also had stainless steel. And the life cycle of the stainless steel and the maintenance is phenomenal compared. And your statement on postponing the third digester, like you said, it's only 10 million now, but when, if we have to do that in the future, you're talking $15-20 million that would significantly impact the wastewater costs to the citizens in the future. And so I've worked with stainless steel systems, and they're so much better, although the initial cost is significantly higher. It definitely is much more reliable and durable for the long term. So I've had experience with personally with that.
Correct. Thank you. So the staff's design engineer's recommendation is to construct this project with the stainless steel covers. So the next process is the sludge that gets digested in the digesters goes to a process called dewatering. So right now we have only one belt press, which is about 18 years old, belt press. And there's no redundancy. If this belt press goes out of service for maintenance or repair, then we don't have any place to store the sludge other than keeping in the digesters. And so we have to construct a new system. And this belt press is also is towards its end of its life cycle. So based on the plant needs for more reliability and for redundancy, and to get a newer, cleaner, better technology, the design engineer performed an analysis for technical study. The technical study also includes staff contacted five different vendors or the manufacturers of 3 different technologies to come to our wastewater facility to do their pilot testing with their trailer-mounted smaller scale unit on our sludge. And all of those 5 vendors did the study, and they submitted the report to us and the proposal. And those proposals and reports have been reviewed by our design engineer and are also part of our the technical study. So in the technical study, the design engineer performed 20-year life cycle cost comparison of 7 different manufacturers of four different technologies from 7 different manufacturers. So Huber Technologies screw press, a newer technology relatively speaking, came out to the top for the 20-year life cycle cost comparison. And based on that, the design engineer and the staff did a sole source negotiation with Dupron Equipment, the manufacturer of the screw presses, and the important things are this press is going to meet the established design criteria, and it is based on the 20-year life cycle cost comparison. And these screw presses satisfactory performance history. For example, the city staff visited City of Oakdale's wastewater treatment facility, where the screw presses from the same manufacturer have been in operation for a number of years, and they're very satisfied with it. And we also reviewed other projects where this technology has been running successfully. So based on that, the design engineer designed the project based on the Huber screw presses. And the staff is going to make a recommendation to sole source 3 screw presses to Huber Technology Incorporated. So now the cost of the project. the estimated construction cost is $17.6 million. And then engineer services during construction to review the submittals to provide all the related services that are needed, absolutely needed, is about $650,000. Construction management and inspection, it is pretty typical to have the construction management firm to do the construction management and inspection because the city staff has other commitments or for other projects and do not have time to do construction management inspection for this project. And the city has went through a request for proposal process, and where we selected one vendor, one company, consulting firm out of Folsom called ICM Group. That we are going to make a recommendation on that for the award of the professional services agreement. Project administration, control systems programming, the programming of the automation system will be a professional services agreement, and a project contingency based on any unknowns or any based on the bid environment these days. The bids are coming sometimes surprisingly high. So there have been huge change in the cost estimates since we adopted a rate study. In the rate study, these projects have been approximately a little over $9 million of construction cost. And the staff did analysis of what the main reasons are for the huge cost estimate changes. There are the construction market. There are number of large projects occurring in this area, and the construction workers are hard to find on these projects, and there is also a rising materials cost. For example, just a big projects, just over $3 million is going to break ground this summer at Sacramento Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility, one of the projects of their $2 billion upgrades. And then the changes in the scope of the work during design, we made some, the staff had to make some changes based on the technical studies for based on the long-term needs of the facility. For example, the dewatering facility, initially it was assumed that we will put a second dewatering unit upstairs in the existing building, but in the technical study that was not the case. In the long-term needs, the building needs an expensive retrofit, and it's also not going to meet the project criteria for the plant needs in the long term. And the design engineer recommended a new facility downstairs right next to the existing facility for the long-term needs. And the digester covers from stainless to stainless steel. Initially, they were assumed just a quarter carbon steel. And also the plant-wide electrical instrumentation control system. When the design engineer did a lot of investigation during the design phase, they found a lot of unknown things, and their recommendation is to move and to make those improvements now, which will save approximately 35% cost instead of doing individually in the future. The next steps of the project, with council's approval, staff will advertise the project plan and specifications called bid documents this month or early next month, and then the bid opening will occur in July of 2018, and anticipated award will be in September, October, and then start up construction in fall of this year and completion of the project in fall of 2020. The fiscal impact. Finance department is working to fund this project through bond proceeds in the amount of $22.6 million, the total cost of the project. And the current wastewater rate structure will be able to pay the debt payments and maintain required debt coverage ratio on this project. And more accurate evaluation will be provided at a time of award after the bids have been opened, after the negotiation for the professional services have been made. And more accurate numbers will be presented at that time, at the time of the award. So at this time, I would like to make recommendations as written in the staff report. Number one is to adopt a adopt a resolution approving the plans and specifications for the wastewater treatment facility improvements project and authorizing advertisement for the bids on the project. And number 2, adopt a resolution approving the minimum project experience requirements for the general contractor and electrical subcontractors with the finding that it is in the best interest of the city. Number 3 is adopt a resolution authorizing the sole source purchase at pre-negotiated pricing of 1 mechanical bar screen to Dupron Corporation in the amount of $292,000 and 3 dewatering screw presses to Huber Technologies Incorporated in the amount of $1,374,754 with the finding it is in the best interest of the city. And last item is award an agreement for professional services to ICM Group Incorporated of Folsom, California in the amount of $1.12 million to provide construction, management, and inspection services for the wastewater treatment facility improvements project with the finding that it is in the best interest of the city. And another point to note is that although the council is considering award of the professional services to ICM Group today, their agreement will be contingent upon the award of the actual construction contract. So they will not be given notice to proceed until council award the construction contract. With that, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to council for any questions.
Through the mayor.
Yeah.
So Mandy, just for, I guess, for the public to understand where the funds come from. This is an enterprise fund for wastewater treatment, correct?
Correct.
And so all the money is generated by the users of that system.
Correct.
It's currently running at about 64% capacity, if my math was close in my head. I was talking to myself at the same time that I tried to do the math, so I was a little confused, but.
Yes, we have leftover capacity to add newer units.
Okay. And so increase in population would also be paying, and connection fees would also be paying for future expansion that would be needed. Am I correct on that?
Correct. 2 things. With the future expansion, any units that we need for the future to accommodate the new growth will be paid by the newer users. And when they come on our system on the existing facility to utilize leftover capacity, they will be paying to, in general terms, to buy that capacity of the plant. So they will be contributing money through their connection fees. Yeah, correct.
Who, just in a general sense, who owns that plant?
That plant is owned by the citizens of city of Yuba City.
So this is their facility that they chose years ago in the 60s to go forward with, the maintenance of it. In your estimation, has the maintenance been an active maintenance program to constantly look at issues and identify them to move forward?
Yeah, the maintenance so far right now it's challenging. The maintenance part is very challenging on this ACE facility. That's why the staff bring the priority projects to the council consideration and the rate study. So yeah, right now the staff is doing the best to keep the facility as best as they can.
And would you consider this plant an active, a highly active plant given our population?
Correct.
It would be considered highly active?
Yes, correct.
What's the approximate power consumption in dollars per year for that facility?
For the facility right now, about $500,000 power consumption.
Annually?
Annually is the correct, Diana, of numbers. It's in the ballpark. In the ballpark, I don't have the correct numbers.
So keeping the electrical switch gear and everything else up is one of those critical components for failure?
Absolutely. The electrical system runs the whole facility. If there's a little bit of glitch on it, then we cannot operate our facility, and we cannot treat the wastewater. We will be out of compliance from the state permit, and there will be consequences in the amount of fines.
And I'm glad you brought up the F word. as you finally got there. When we look at violations that occur, can you give us just a general sense of what those fines are and who fines us for different violations?
Correct. So this facility in general, well, this facility is being operated under a NPDES permit called National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit, and it is regulated locally by the Sacramento Regional Water Quality Control Board from Sacramento, and they give us the permit to operate the plant, and they also give the specific requirements to meet when we discharge the water to the river, Feather River, or to the ponds, which are also located in the Feather River floodplain. And in general, most of the violations are about $3,000 per violation per day. And based on the severity of the violence, those are the minimum. Those are minimum violations. And based on the severity, if, for example, if our plant fails to treat, and if it's a severe, then it could go to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it could be also legally challenged by some other private groups, and it becomes expensive, very expensive.
And thank you for answering all those. It's just that there's always a lapse of time, and I think oftentimes maybe memory also as to the importance of a plant like this, what it does. Being a highly active plant, it doesn't have time to be shut down to go back and fix things. It's constantly in operation. It's highly functional, and when you walk in there, you know that you're in a facility that is getting business done, and that's what is important. And I just want to thank you for all of those answers, because I think it's kind of an important piece for the citizens to realize that this is theirs, and it just needs to be continued. The maintenance needs to continue and be utilized to its highest efficiency. And even in the dewatering process, where we're now hauling off sludge that used to sit on site for months, and that's daily
we
hauled.
could correct that, John, for about 25 years.
Well, no, well, I'm well aware how long it was there, but I also am the guy back in 2011 that gave it the term sedentary heat-induced treatment odors. And we got that product moved off-site daily, and that's because there's homes around there, and it creates an odor if it stays on site. Again, the advances at this location, along with the solar farm and everything else on site, has been a remarkable process. This is just the next step in keeping a system viable, alive, and progressing forward for growth in our city.
Great. Thank you. Any other
To the
comments,
mayor.
questions? Yes.
One thing I did forget to ask while we were on the tour, I know we're going to be consolidating all of the electrical, saving the 35% cost, which that's very wise to do and get it done now. Is there going to be power efficiency savings at the same time with the newer systems? Because having worked with the types of systems that I saw, the older ones, they're more analog. They use more power. Will these ones be much more efficient in their use? Is that?
Yes, correct. The digesters will be much more efficient in energy as well as operation, and the newer technology, the dewatering, uses less energy than the existing belt press. Correct.
Okay. And I went blank on the other one. That's okay. That was the main one.
Okay. All right. Have any questions? Nope. And we lost one. Okay. All right. Thank you. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and open it to the public. It looks like we have Elaine Miles that would like to speak.
Don't go away, because you probably know answer. Elaine Miles. I know this was built decades ago. but what was the capacity, and what is our population up to that capacity, and what is the future use for population? I think we need to look at how our population is or is not growing. As I heard in the news, a lot of these country areas are losing all the young people. We only have older people like us, and we had a whole room full here. But I'd really like to know what we're really using and what the future is, capacity-wise.
So the staff do analysis on the future flow projections, time to time. Last time, the Public Works Department did a master plan update that also includes the future projection at the time. So now the projections will be completed this year. But for part of this project, before designing any of the facilities, the design engineers looked carefully the anticipated future growth in the population. So these facilities are going to just serve for the existing residents, just the improvements of the existing facility. So we are not adding a new capacity for any new customer. This is just for the existing facility. If we undersize any of the components of the plant, then it will be an issue with the state, because they permitted us 10.5 MGD of capacity, and in order to they will degrade our capacity. In order to regain it, it's a huge, expensive process again, and dollar cost wise, if we say that the new process units we are making smaller, they're not going to make a much difference in the total construction cost, because it's just the cost of the equipment. I assume that answers the question.
Great, thank you. So,
Excuse me. My question is, what is the capacity? And to me, that is households for this community. And are we using it at what percentage?
right now, we're using the facility to its capacity.
It was 60%, wasn't it?
60%, so we're not
correct. The facility, the per household,
getting any bigger.
Per household, we are estimating about just over 300 gallons per household per day. And if we are receiving 8 million gallons of flow versus 6.5 what we are receiving today, the facility will still need to run.
Right.
And overall additional cost for the O&M will be a little bit extra, but it still needs to run due to the capacity. So yes, the plant is running under its total, the maximum capacity.
To the max capacity of where we should be. Yeah.
Through the mayor.
The second
hang on,
Elaine.
I've asked for the microphone, Elaine. We're the council, and the questions need to come to us. We've already asked some questions about capacity, and so we've gotten an answer on that. But what I want to point out is Mandeep will answer to us as the mayor directs him to on any type of questions. So we get to ask him questions clearly. So if you could step aside, I need to ask Mandeep a couple more questions just for clarification.
I would also appreciate the response to when we are going to reach that additional 40% capacity. Thank you.
So, Mandeep, where I was going to head back to was our largest in service to that facility industrially. Who does that come from?
It comes from SunSuite.
And the volume there is critical to the operation of our plant.
Correct.
Partly because of what is brought in. Correct. And being able to continue to operate our digesters at a level that it doesn't, the incoming sugars and things off of their processing,
Correct.
their pH levels and everything else don't kill our systems down. Am I correct on that?
Correct. We are receiving approximately 50% of the plant loading. I'm not talking about the flow. The flow from SunSuite is less than 50%, but their loading is approximately 50% of the total loading of the plant. And it is very critical to keep all the components, including the digesters, running efficiently as much as they can in order to serve SunSuite's needs.
And our current plant capacity allows for us to operate that more efficiently. Am I correct?
Correct.
Where we don't kill off a digester
Correct.
at any given time.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. Part of this is for commercial purposes that this design and the design engineers have come forward with these recommendations.
So I would like to respond to Ms. Miles' question in regard to how many additional homes could we serve with the remaining capacity. So rule of thumb, it's about 3,000 homes per million gallons. So if we have 4 million gallons remaining, then it'd be about 12,000 additional homes that we would be able to serve. In terms of the number of homes that we're currently serving, it's just a little bit over that because the entire city's not on city sewer. And so there's still areas within the existing city that are served by septic systems that most likely someday will need to connect to city sewer.
Thank you, Diana. Okay. Anyone else?
Pat Miller, and I just have a question. I thought I heard Mr. Chohan say during the presentation that the state was going to pay part of the funding for this, and I need a clarification on what the state is going to pay. Thank you.
Can you go over those costs, Mandeep?
Correct. So the project listed in green has been completed. This was the recycling facility study, and the cost for that was approximately $150,000, and the city already received $75,000 for the cost. So the cost to the city was only $75,000 for that study. So that's the only thing I mentioned that state has already paid for that project.
Okay, thank you.
And through the mayor, I guess just for more clarification, there will be more attempts to get grant funding and everything else as we move through some of these other items. Am I correct?
Correct. Correct. Staff is actively working with the state Resources Water Control Board to apply for the potential available grants or the low interest loans. For example, in the past 10 years, the wastewater system has received a total about $17 million of funding, out of which about $6 million has been in the grants. And the remaining $11 million was in very low interest loans. So the staff is on top of that, and we are continuously looking on all the available opportunities to find low interest loans and grants.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else who would like to speak? Nope. Okay, we'll bring it back to council. Questions or motion? We just.
Go up there.
You have to go up to the podium.
My name is Noel Miles. I live at 1351 Jamie Drive. I've been in this city for 48 years, and I've been in this area for all my life. And I pay attention to things like population. The population of this whole county is 92,000 people. The sign for Yuba City says it's 62,000. If we're not, and it's been that way for 20 years, 30 years. If we're not increasing our population according to the signs, what's happening to all the money it's creating for this? I mean, that's just kind of a illogical question I came into, but I don't have an answer for it. So I asked you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody want to comment on that? Or
Through the mayor, the signs have changed over time. I came to work for the city of Yuba City in 1979. We had a population of about somewhere between 18 and 20,000 people inside the city of Yuba City at that time. Let's see, that wasn't that many years ago. And it has constantly grown, and I think that those signs have changed. As we see growth, I haven't counted every one of them, but I will guarantee you that as the population has grown in the last 10 years, we've seen a significant decrease in what the population gain was in the 10 years prior to that. We were building a lot of homes 20 years ago and 15 years ago, and it slowed down in 2008. And it is slowly starting to creep back up. But there has been a population change, trust me. And then there's been other additional areas of the county, as you are well aware, the Happy Park area came in, and that added more to the actual city of Yuba City. It was already on services, but those are the things that change signage, not necessarily the usage. So.
I think just recently, it was quoted in one of the papers around here, and we still 40-some thousand people were used inside.
Okay.
So if that's
175, 176.
We're
178.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Figure out mathematics here.
Right. Thank you. Okay. Bring it back to council. So public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to council. Any questions or motion? No questions? No.
I'm satisfied with what staff has, first, what the engineers have come up with, what staff is supportive of, having gone through a tour of the facility and had a very clear explanation of everything that was going on and those changes. Unfortunately, there's an increase in costs, but those increase in costs are not going to go away anytime soon. We've seen that in other bid projects. Certainly the increase in some of the product to be longer lasting, more efficient, digester lids that don't float and move, going up to a product that may have a 40-year, 45-year life is important. I may not have to deal with this again in my future. And the plant has capacity to grow if this city grows. It may or may not have that requirement for some time. But I think we have to maintain for the citizens of this community a viable component, and that is to get rid of waste. When I push the lever on the little white porcelain device in my house, I don't ever want to see it again. And I think it's an important part of our process to also not face fines and to be good stewards of the environment and not discharge into the river the items that we're not supposed to be putting out there and not facing fines for it. So it makes sense. The unfortunate part, it's just a little more costly, so I'll move the item at staff's recommendations.
Okay. Do we have a second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. Item moves forward. Next, we have the Water Loss Control Program. We have Diana.
Good evening again. All right, so the item before you tonight is an informational item on our water loss control program. So in 2015, the California legislature adopted Senate Bill 555, which required that water suppliers do annual audits and submit them to the state beginning in October of 2017. In 2016, the city hired Water System Optimization, who specializes in audits and development of water loss control plans, to conduct a water audit in Yuba City and develop a water loss control program. So using calendar year 2015 data, this was a very intense process, utilizing many departments where we gathered data from our meters, we gathered data from all of our records related to maintenance, and we gave that to the consultant. They went through and did an analysis and came up with this water audit using American Water Works Association template. Through that, what they found was that the unavoidable annual real loss is 91.5 million gallons per year. So what does that mean? So that means if your water system is in top shape condition, all of the infrastructure is in excellent condition, you are addressing leaks as soon as they pop up, you're extremely proactive, and you're doing the absolute best that you can, you would still have unavoidable annual real losses of 91.5 million gallons per year because no system is completely watertight. For Yuba City, based upon the 2015 water data, the annual real losses was 354.9 million gallons per year, for a net avoidable annual real loss of 263.4 million gallons per year. We were shocked by that number, extremely high, and so we said, okay, what can we do about that? So they, as part of a water loss control program, the purpose is to reduce water losses within the water distribution system in a cost-effective manner. It would not be cost-effective to go in and completely upgrade the system to try to remove all water losses. As we talked about with the unavoidable real losses, there's no way of addressing all of the losses, and it would not be cost-effective to try to do so. So through that, we also quantified the water loss and categorized the losses into apparent losses versus real losses. So apparent losses are losses that occur at the point of customer use when the full volume of consumption is not accurately tracked. So these are often unauthorized consumption, where you have somebody that connects to a hydrant without a hydrant meter and they steal water, customer metering inaccuracy, or data handling errors. There's also the real losses, which are the physical leakage. And so that's when you actually have water seeping out of the pipe, or if it's bad enough where it actually makes its way up to the surface of the roadway. So the recommendations included modifications at the water treatment plant to be able to better test and accurately account for water entering and exiting the facility, analyzing meters to ensure that they are sized appropriately and are accurately accounting for water usage, and perform pipeline leak detection. So per WSO's recommendations, the city installed additional meters at the water treatment plant so we could more accurately account for water entering and exiting the facility. And we also pulled a sample of meters from the distribution system in various sizes to have them tested. What we found is that the meter bodies are still very accurate. So at a previous council meeting, we brought forward to replace the heads because the batteries are starting to die, but the meter bodies are still in really good shape and accounting for water accurately. So after we made those modifications, we used calendar year 2016 water data to perform an audit in 2017. So the unavoidable annual real losses, of course, stays the same, but the current annual real losses dropped down to 252.2 million gallons per year. So that equates to a net avoidable annual real loss of 160.7 million gallons per year, or just over 440,000 gallons per day. So 440,000 gallons per day is equivalent to providing water to approximately 1,177 homes on a daily basis. That sounds like a lot, but as I mentioned previously, the purpose of a water loss control program is to analyze how you can cost effectively reduce your water losses. So you're not going to reduce them all, and at some point it becomes cost prohibitive. So what we found for next steps is there's still opportunities to reduce real losses within the distribution system. The next step is to do pipeline leak detection. It's an audible leak detection where they actually connect acoustic equipment to the pipelines, and we're targeting 3 specific areas. The downtown area, which would be bound by Highway 20 to the north, Cooper Avenue to the west, Plumas Avenue to the east, and then Reeves Avenue to the south. These are part of our original water mains dating back to the 1920s. They're 3-inch galvanized lines. We're also looking at the Darrow Tract, which is in the northeastern portion of the city. And so why do we pick these areas? Because over the years, as we have tracked where water leaks occur, we map those locations, and then we're able to see on a map where we're seeing the majority of our water leaks. And then also the southwest area, which is bound by Walton Avenue on the west, Lincoln Road on the north, 99 on the east, and then Hazel Avenue on the south. So with that, WSO will come in, connect their acoustic equipment. The larger leaks will sound louder, and they'll be able to identify those locations. We'll then take those locations, incorporate them into our capital improvement program for repair and replacement. And then once we address those leaks, we'll come back and do another leak detection, because once you clear the louder leaks and connect again, you will be able to then hear the smaller leaks. So from that, we will then continue to implement this water loss control program to identify where are those larger leaks throughout the city. So this is a multi-year process to be able to address these. And then, of course, as the years go by and your infrastructure continues to age, you'll have leaks continue to pop up. But with this, it's trying to be more strategic in how we address water loss and recognize that water loss is going to occur, but there are things that we can do to minimize that. Especially in this age of water conservation, it's very important to try to maximize as much water as we can. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Diana. Council, any questions for Diana? Nope.
Well, just through the mayor, I guess just a couple points that I think during any of these surveys, are they going to be looking at main distribution lines that are under roadways currently that could have an effect on not just the underground infrastructure, but our roadway surfaces with hydraulic removal and things like that cause roadways to cave in? And
yeah, but hopefully we don't have any leaks of that magnitude. We have had pipe ruptures of that magnitude, where Live Oak Boulevard we had to close at one point in time and do an emergency repair because the roadway was washed out, the subgrade was washed out. We're hoping not to find any leaks of that magnitude. But, as we get into this system and this program, who knows what we're going to find.
And I guess the reason I ask that is we have had Queens Avenue, Live Oak Boulevard, and a couple other locations cave in. But I do recall when the Hillcrest project the distribution line was being run down Lincoln Road, that took nearly 3 months to be able to fix the soaker hose leak that was in there. And those were brand new pipes,
right?
Newly installed, but yet they were leaking at a significant rate and had to be there had to be an excavation occur and replace some of those pipes and joints that were in there that were faulty.
Yeah.
And it was just part of the installation.
Yeah, with that size diameter pipeline, when you get a leak on that large of a pipeline, that is going to be very loud in terms of, and so trying to determine where that is acoustically on the system can be somewhat difficult. But we're anxious to move forward with this program, and then we're also going to continue to do meter testing on an annual basis and vary the different sizes of meters that we do to make sure that our meters are accurately recording water consumption.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? No? Okay,
All right,
thank you,
thank
Diana.
you.
Next, we have priorities and goals for 2018-2019. Steve.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening. So your priority and goals meetings are held at the beginning of the calendar year. This is purposeful. Gives you an opportunity to go over what's been completed in the previous year, take a look forward to the year to come, and allow staff the opportunity to shape the budget document that we proposed to you that will be coming to you later this month for final consideration in June in accordance with your goals and priorities. There are longstanding goals of the city that I like to say are universal, hopefully for every city. To go over those quickly prior to getting into the presentation. Public safety, of course, including police, fire, and flood control. Developing our economy, which is the engine that drives the city. Maintaining and improving our infrastructure, the items that we've just been talking about in these last couple presentations. Developing our organization, which is the vehicle through which we provide quality services to the community. Preparing for growth. So as we grow as a community, we are roughly 15 square miles of a 25 square mile sphere of influence. So we have a population of 68,000 people. We have a build-out population of 130,000. So when that happens is largely driven by the private sector, but also for us to be able to provide a platform for people to come in and grow upon. So we're always looking toward that. And also enhancing our image and reputation, which I think we've done a fine job of over these past few years. So looking at our slides before us, this is our 2018 workshop. We looked backwards at what we accomplished, and then we looked forward as well. What was different about this workshop is the previous year your council had said we really want to do a heightened level of community engagement. So what we did prior to this workshop is conducted a survey. We brought back those survey results and had a conversation about those during the meeting. What also was touched upon is there were some presentations to you by various folks within your organization of 300 employees. One of the pride and joys is the community policing effort, the heightened level of engagement. Roughly 1 year ago, your council allocated additional resources to the police department to hire individuals who would go out and engage the community. This is how we get a magnified effort. That it's not just a matter of hiring more police officers, it's a matter of getting us, the citizens of Yuba City, more engaged in protecting ourselves and looking out for each other. And that's what Katie Goodson specifically, who's hired into that position, has done a remarkable job over the past year. And I think we have some fine pictures here, including a council person in the lower left-hand corner. So development, looking backwards and looking forwards. I won't go over all of these. These will be available on the website. Fun graphic to look at, and remarkable the amount of development that we've had in Yuba City. Our residential development of the early 2000s hasn't been matched since then, but I will tell you that the commercial development has been going gangbusters. What's been really nice to see in this regard is this is more of an infill development. So a lot of communities grow in one direction. It's greenfield. New development wants to go where it's easy to put in a new foundation, new development. A lot of ours has been to the east of Highway 99 on Highway 20, as witnessed by this slide and the next. And so that benefits our community because our urban core does not decay, but it improves along with the growth to the west. Our pride and joy, and so our pride and joy on one side, on the organization side is probably the community policing effort. On the physical infrastructure, it has to be the 5th Street Bridge. For those of you who have made it out there to see it, and I say that generally for the community's benefit because any of us can go out on the existing 5th Street Bridge. I believe it's open now. Councilman Cardoza seems, he's the guy who knows best when I ask whether or not, and as much as you recognized Bob and Lee Jones from the Harkey House earlier this evening, it was a really nice one day to be out there on the existing 5th Street Bridge and having Bob from the Harkey House looking over and seeing this in action. So, and kudos to our Public Works Department for engaging the high school community and getting our youngsters intrigued in engineering. This goes into the enhance our image. We have had a great effort with regard to the Yuba City being recognized by the Milken Institute as the number 7 small metro in the nation. It's been wonderful. Let me just say that. Additionally, we have had a celebrity mayor this year, and it's been nice that she's been able to be recognized not only in our city, but nationally and internationally as well. And that continues to this day, which has been great. So in terms of community priorities, there were 3 areas of a result of the survey that were emphasized. One is that our road condition, that we need to prevent our roads from deteriorating. Another was youth, that we need to help our youth, keep them on the right track and out of trouble. And finally, that public safety, the essentiality of our public safety services that needs to be maintained. So from your direction at that meeting to us, it was that we need to continue the community conversation. So over these next few months, we will heighten that engagement, meet with community groups. We'll be sending surveys out through our digital front door, as well as our physical front door, for people to find the best way to give us feedback on what they think are the priorities of this community. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Steve. Bring it back to council for any questions. Any additions? Nope. Okay. We do have a speaker card, so I'll go ahead and open this up. Bob Renton.
Good evening to all. My name is Bob Renton. I reside near Live Oak, and I own our family home on Hun Road near Yuba City. I very much want to thank Yuba City senior staff for their openness and transparency in sharing this document that was published online. I did not see all of it in the presentation tonight. However, this document does contain your goals for improving the city. It also, on a slide on page 24 of the document that was published online, indicates a plan to request an increase in sales tax of 1%. Now, I was told that my graphic that I was asked to show on the screen is not possible. Our printed version was made available to each of you in front of you somewhere, so you should see that. Anyhow, our group wishes to share the message in this document with those who soon may be annexed into Yuba City. That will be a subject of a vote on June 5th in Measure Z, and the Keyhole area residents have already been advised of a possible sales tax increase. So far, that has only been done through social media. I would like to point out that the survey discussed in this published document online by the city is only about, the survey was done on only about 2% of the voter base within Yuba City. In my opinion, my humble opinion, it is a very unreliable method to project results of just 2% who were surveyed. Now, the elections office indicates there are almost 30,000 registered voters. So you compare that to 626 survey respondents. So again, my special thanks to Yuba City senior staff for publishing this document, and my thanks to all here for your time, for listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, through the mayor, Mr. Renton, don't go away. Stay right near that microphone, because I have a question for you. If you could go to your Facebook posting of approximately 1 week ago regarding the 1% sales tax, could you read that for us, please?
My Facebook posting, I don't have in front of me, sir.
Could you just summarize what you put in your Facebook posting?
About what subject? I post quite a bit.
Okay. I'm not going to beat around the bush.
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
On the
really. I
1%,
really honestly don't follow.
On the 1% sales tax
Yes.
issue, what did you post on Facebook?
I believe I posted that the city has presented a possible sales tax in a document issued by the senior staff of Yuba City, and there is a possibility that a 1% sales tax may be included in a November ballot measure, if approved by this, if the city council approves this to go forward, something along that line. My memory, I'm almost 70, so my memory is poor.
How convenient. Because, Mr. Renton, I've accused you of being challenged with telling the truth previously. What you posted was that the city of Yuba City was going to put a 1% sales tax initiative on the ballot in November of 2018 and what that money would be being used for. You went into great detail, Mr. Renton, to incite through a lie to the public what we were going to do. I was shocked that anybody would go that far to take what we did in a goal setting workshop and stretch that anywhere into something this board here has not done, nor said, nor had any action on. You took it upon yourself, Mr. Renton, to put out false information to the public. You have lost all credibility with me, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome to your opinion. I stand by what I said in the post. I presented it as a possible sales
You did not
tax
present it
increase.
as possible. You presented it as fact, sir.
No, sir.
Yes,
I
you
not.
did.
Thank you. Any other comments? Nope. All right, so that was for note and file. Thank you. All right. Our next business for City Council is the opposition to SP 54, and we have Darren.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Darren Gale, your Economic Growth and Public Affairs Manager. At your last council meeting, you had a discussion related to SB 54, which is commonly referred to as the Sanctuary City Law. As a result, we have brought back before you a resolution in opposition to SB 54. If you have any questions specifically related to the resolution, I can answer them, but I believe your direction at the last City Council meeting was clear to bring back a resolution in opposition of Senate Bill 54, and the California Values Act is the title, but commonly referred to as Sanctuary City Law.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Darren? Nope. Okay, I do have a couple of speaker cards here for item 18. We have Richard Craig.
With the council's permission, Mr. Westmoreland and I have agreed that he would speak first. Would that be all right?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. I rise tonight in a strong opposition to this resolution.
Is this Brad?
Brad Westmoreland, yeah.
Okay, can you go ahead and state your address as well?
1085 Courtyard Drive.
Thank you.
I attended the last City Council meeting when this issue came up. And quite frankly, I was a bit troubled by some of the statements by some members of the public during that meeting. Some of those statements demonstrated a clear and frankly disturbing tinge of prejudice that I don't believe comports with what our vision is for the city. Although I do want to recognize Vice Mayor Harris's efforts to steer that conversation away from some pretty rocky territory, and commend him for that. But I've also heard some troubling statements from council members regarding this issue. during the meeting, council made it clear that the foundation for its claim that the sanctuary state law, as it's known, should be opposed was that it was its belief that this law is unconstitutional. If I could summarize the council's argument, council believes that SB 54, which is a state law, conflicts with federal immigration laws and thus is unconstitutional. I was struck by two things when I walked away from that council meeting. First, I was struck by how off-base council's assessment was of SB 54's constitutionality. Second, I was struck by how easily each council member was able to make such bold claims about a law's constitutionality when not one of the council members has any formal legal training and much less a license to practice law in this state. Now, that's not a knock on anybody. Lord knows there are plenty of lawyers that I can confirm to in the room right now, and I think that's more than plenty for everybody here. But under these circumstances, I think it's important to remember that when an issue carries strong feelings, as this one does, it's important to be cautious and exercise temperance in these pronouncements. I just want to make two recommendations and requests tonight. First, I think it would be a great idea to postpone the vote on this resolution. I think the members of the public deserve more time to think about this and the fact is, whether you vote tonight, whether you vote on this resolution a month from now or a year from now, the practical effect that it is going to have if it is passed is going to remain the same, and that effect is zero. It's not going to have any practical impact on whether this law is carried out. Second, before you vote on this resolution, I ask that council release to the public the documents or the legal memo, the legal research, the opinion that it relied on, perhaps provided by the city attorney, when it came to the conclusion that this law was unconstitutional. I think not only will that demonstrate to the residents of Yuba City that these pronouncements were not made arbitrarily, but also it would give members of the public an opportunity to be better informed about an issue and come to their conclusions that way. So with that, I yield the rest of my time to Richard.
I will respond just one moment to that. It was based upon independent reading of things. The staff had nothing to do with feeding us anything at all. In fact, they avoided it. So it was all completely based upon our own personal decision and direction to go. Yes, it is more about public safety, but I still stand with the general approach that I had. So I will stand on that.
Can I respond to that, or I just want to say that
we already know what your thoughts and opinions are. You were very clear.
Well, I understand, but the public safety argument I understand, but the fact is, when this was brought up at the last council meeting, the constitutionality issue was a central theme during that meeting.
I think I was much more the strongest of all on that opinion.
Okay,
so
Thank
I
you for your
responded.
comments. Next, we have Richard Cray.
Thank you. My name is Richard Cray, 2160 Live Oak Boulevard here in Yuba City. And I'd just like to echo the request that Mr. Westmoreland made, that the council, in all prudence, ought to make public the opinion of the city attorney as to the constitutionality of Senate Bill 54, because I think a reasoned, cautioned approach might be a good idea here in an area that is so heated with rhetoric on both sides. And I don't think that it would be out of line for council to postpone a vote on this until the public has had an opportunity to take a look at what the council is using as the basis of its reasoning. So I would like to ask again that the council postpone a vote on this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and close it out. Bring it back to the council for any comments, concerns.
Through the mayor.
Uh-huh.
As a point of reference, I spoke to the oath of office. There are three things that are in the oath. One is to follow the federal law, the state law, and local laws and ordinances. They are purposely put into the oath of office in that order because of their dominance
over one another. The information that I relied upon is that of our attorney, U.S. Attorney General, Mr. Sessions, who is taking action against the state of California pursuant to this legislation. I believe that when the U.S. Attorney says that they are willing to file this and let a higher court decide, and our action follows just to say that we oppose it, is simply a prudent action for a community that sees ourselves as those that abide by the laws. We're not going to shelter anyone, treat anyone any differently. If there was any bias or any other piece of law that caused prejudice, this law selects out a class of individual and gives them a higher level of protection than any other American. That is a prejudice action. This action of this board simply says, we don't agree with it. We're going to follow what the state law is. We just don't agree with this legislative action that was taken in the state of California.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? We have direction for staff. Action.
I'd move to approve.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, thank you. All right, we have city council reports. Councilmember Buckland.
All right, it's going to be lengthy, so get out your slippers and it's only 2 pages. Don't worry about it. Attended the Sutter Butte Flood Control meeting here a couple weeks ago, just prior to leaving on the cap to cap. Y'all don't want to listen to this? Oh, okay. I'm hungry. So am I, but we've got to go through this. You can watch this later, Pat, because you want to know what we're doing in Washington, D.C. So the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency are in our general meeting looking at moving forward with some of the ongoing maintenance issues and making recommendations going forward to the different districts, being able to handle their own maintenance and letting them make decisions regarding how that was going to happen, that it wouldn't fall under the umbrella of Sutter Butte Flood Control, but also that there's additional work that needs to be done in the south reaches of Sutter County to get to 100-year flood protection, and that is one of the goals still of the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency. Shortly after that, I took off for Washington, D.C. On the first leg of the trip, I went with our city manager, and we attended the SACOG tour, to put it in light words, of the Highway 1 corridor north out of Washington, D.C. into Maryland, looking at revitalization, some of the multi-modal transportation facilities that are adjacent to their systems there in the metro area, but also talking, as Councilmember Cleveland was talking about earlier, with an apartment complex. It's very much like that discussion that he was having, is being able to put these around centers where people have access to them and cut down on vehicle trips necessarily, being able to walk to, bike to, and use other modes of transportation to get around. A lot of this also looked at the revitalization, an old, worn down highway that used to have a lot of automobile dealerships. Those have gone by the wayside. Those have been consolidated in different areas, but also converting those into usable boutique type shops, trip generators into these communities, a place, a meeting place. We went into a number of different facilities, and it really helped bring and is helping bring these communities back. Many of the communities are no larger than the size of Marysville, but they're just interconnected as they go up the highway. But the Arts District was one of the more vital pieces that we saw that really brought interest back into the community and brought new life into a community. Also, looking at community cooperative nonprofits, we met with a group that is providing and helping in job growth around the University of Maryland. That was our furthest outreach that we made on an all-day tour up through there. It was very interesting to see and hear from those that are providing some of the structure, hotel projects, a lot larger than what we're looking at in Yuba City, but the same basic concepts of being able to bring more folks into the area, keep them in a closer core, not for any other purpose than convenience. The convenience factor is very, very high, and again, around the University of Maryland, that area has grown significantly with the help of these nonprofits. Saturday and Sunday, some meetings in planning for the upcoming meetings on Capitol Hill. I'll go briefly just through some of the meetings that I had on Monday. I met with the Federal Highway Administration Deputy Administrator, Ms. Hendrickson. She and I discussed some of the grant opportunities, some of the grants that we currently have made application to, and future grant applications to possibly be used directly towards Bridge Street, and the criteria that they're looking for to specifically be able to fund that. Also had a staff meeting over at the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, gaining some support for a higher level of police grants. Also had a meeting with Senator Harris's district staff in her office. The meeting was rather short, but yet we have met with her field representative here, and so they just wanted an interlinkage talking about the issues of rural Northern California. Also met with the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee on the majority side, looking at how some of the grants, the funding will be going forward. The Tiger grant has been increased almost by 3 times the amount over last year. So we're looking at some of the programs that we can tap into, and then also met with the House minority side of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Had the very same conversations. The nice thing is both sides are talking the same language. I think it's been a few years back in Washington, D.C., where we didn't have that. There seems to be a little bit more of a cooperative discussion between both of the different committees. So I believe that that's going to be of benefit, though they are looking at the administration and pushing back against the administration's funding related to rural communities in the Midwest and those type of states. So looking more at the administration's looking more at the middle of the country, where the committees are looking more at just simply the definition of rural communities, which can also include California. And just separate light meetings, had a direct meeting with Congressman Barra, who doesn't represent our area, but is a representative where I served down on the SACOG board, and also with Congressman McClintock, talking about the San Joaquin joint rail connector into the capital.
This is utilizing heavy rail. This isn't anything about high speed. It's just a commuter rail coming out of the San Joaquin system up into the capital, and pushing for them to recognize that we need to extend that onto the Marysville line and having access from there up to Chico and Reading via bus. So those were some of the discussions that we had regarding that. So it was busy back in Washington, D.C. with all the different meetings and everything else. Coming home, I was home only a couple hours and assisted over in Chico with the Highway Patrol on an every 15 minutes program at Colusa High School. Also attended the Beale Air Show, which was a great turnout for Beale Air Force Base to see the final. I just talked to a major out there today, and they don't even have the final numbers tallied up, but they were saying that it more than likely has exceeded 80,000 people at the air show. So I didn't hear the final numbers. He doesn't know, but he's going to call me back tomorrow. They were excited about what happened out there. It's amazing. The F-22. Hey, that is a dominant aircraft. That was amazing. And to watch Commander Loco fly that thing, at the ability he flew that was amazing. Yesterday, all-day event down in Sacramento, down in Citrus Heights, in a revitalized strip mall that looked like 5 years ago could have been any of the buildings along Highway 20, where, you know, some of the old strip locations that we have could have looked anything like that. Turned into a destination point in that city, in Rancho. It was amazing, but we attended the SACOG Regional Futures Forum, and it was well represented by a lot of members and of this council, and also our city manager in Darren Gale. So appreciate all of that. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Next we have Councilmember Cardoza.
I guess we'll start off with meetings also. Attended the Sutter Buttes Flood Control Agency with Councilman Cleveland and Councilman Buckland. The Bi-County Homeless Services Program, JPA. Sutter Animal Services Authority. The Yuba Sutter Transit Authority meeting. The Regional Housing Authority. Also the Sutter Affordable Housing Authority Committee. SACOG with Council. Attended the Sutter County Superintendent of Schools Office of Strategic Plan Forum with Councilman Harris, or Vice Mayor Harris. For chamber events, we had the monthly ambassadors meeting. We had a couple ribbon cuttings this month. One is for mechanical and irrigation solutions. Brand new, it's for agriculture and also the homeowner. They're on the East Onstop Frontage Road just north of Pease. And then we have a brand new farmers insurance agent company in our community, Keith Anthony's. I attended the E-Center Child Care Center dedication for Deedar Baines. They dedicated building for him as the Peach King, and also attended the Chamber's Candidates Forum last week. For city and community events, I attended the Children's Fair at the Town Fountain, sponsored by Yuba College and the Child Care Planning Council of Yuba Sutter. Attended the 50th Annual Elegant Soiree by the United Way Friday night. That was a wonderful time at Colusa Casino. The Beale Air Show with Council. I did the Yuba City Business Walk, and that's sponsored by the Yuba Sutter Economic Development Corporation and District. Attended the Bike Around the Buttes. I attended the Youth Commission's Art Show at the Senior Center. They had 70 paintings and drawings. It was wonderful, and the students of the high schools and grade schools, that was a great time there. Our city had a demo of our brand new street sweeper. Got to see a brand new sweeper that the city purchased for the citizens of the community. Little small compact thing that does a lot of work that the big one used to. Attended the Yuba Sutter Fire Department's first annual awards picnic. And then last but not least, as you can all see, I attended the St. Baldrick's Foundation Shaving of the Head. This is a battle to help conquer childhood cancers. And I also like to special thanks for the folks that donated. Vice Mayor Harris, Darren Gale, the Yuba City Fire Department staff, and all the folks that were at the Happy Viking that threw in to see that I got this done. And then also a special thanks, I got me a new little buddy, Jazz Hernandez. He got his hair shaved in a stool just below me the same time I had mine done. So we had fun, got me a new little friend, and had a great turnout. And thanks for all you for contributing to a great cause. And that's it for me.
That's fantastic, Manny. Thank you. Councilmember Cleveland.
Thank you very much. Well, I did have a little bit of a busy time also. Let's see, I have this a little mixed up. On Wednesday, the 11th of April, was Soda Butte Flood Control Agency. Councilman Buckland did a fantastic synopsis of it. I won't add anything to that. Then on the Monday the 23rd, sweeper demonstration. That is compact, but I also saw it at another location on the Saturday before I'll tell you about in a minute. Thursday, I did attend the Bi-County Homeless Services Program meeting, getting caught up firsthand of what the plan that they're doing, and it's really coming together, I think, quite well. Toured the wastewater plant in preparation for the agenda item tonight. I usually haven't gone and done it before, mainly because I used to work at a smaller sized one, but I already knew pretty much what I was going to encounter. It was mostly the smell. But I finally did officially go look at our plant and look at the specific needs that our community will need for the future. Last night, I actually attended the Yuba Center Farm Bureau meeting, since many of our own members in the community work on farms and live in Yuba City. I've been an integral part of their process for the past now almost 12 years when I was a supervisor. And there's a lot of businesses in Yuba City that service the farmers. And we want to make sure that we're hearing their concerns and needs within the city and the county to make sure we keep up with what they're wanting also. I did attend the first annual fire department awards at Gautier Aquatic Park. That was quite emotional for the ones that won the award, because they serve the community. They just do it because they love helping people and being there when there's needed. Also, they had I guess it was a Touch a Truck at the Playseum, and that's where I first saw the sweeper out there, and the kids just went nuts over the trucks and the cars and the big monster trucks, the fire trucks. Loved hooting the horns and honking on them and climbing in them, and they were the place was overwhelmed with the response. It was much larger than they had expected, and I could see why. It was very good. They even had a helicopter, a rescue helicopter there. Let's see here, Beale Air Force Base Air Show. What a phenomenal thing. They were looking for, hoping for 60,000. They definitely are looking at 80,000, perhaps even more, very close to that. My grandson was actually the XO of Civil Air Patrol groups. I think there were eight or nine squadrons there, and he was the executive officer, keeping them doing their stuff. So yes, I'm very proud grandfather of a grandson that's knows where he wants to go and is focused in his life. And it's good to see not just him, but other youth. And there was about 70 of them there at the time. And so seeing that many that are focusing and have a focus in their life. Let's see here. The other one last item is while some of the members here were off and council members were in D.C., I was in Southern California in Pomona, attending my duties as a League of California Cities policy member, dealing with state laws, and they're trying to pass bills, and some of them are just absolutely insane, and you're like, what? And sometimes they even have a title that doesn't even address the thing that is on the title. It's not even in there. It's not even addressed in it. And sometimes we look at them and go, how can they even, why aren't they embarrassed about even presenting them? I brought back some information for staff. One of them is the Homeless Task Force report. It's a very, very strong report of California on the efforts throughout California on different types of services and successes and approaches, fact sheets of many different things, disaster readiness, and then homeless veterans. And I also brought back my actual agendas for the housing and economic development and environmental quality, which that's the one I serve on. And I also brought specifically for each one of the members some of the highlights of what were discussed throughout the whole time, so they can at least read if they want on some of the items we discussed, because many of the committees cross over and discuss some of the same bills because they have effect on so many facets of a city's operation. There were like 250 bills that they were saying had impact, but we only discussed about 8 or 10 of them that had the most severe impact or help for the community. So I spent 2 days down there in a lot of discussions on support or oppose or recommend amendments to different legislation. And so that was quite an involved process. After a couple of years of this already, it just never amazes me how in depth we have to, go into some of these things and the effect that some of these legislative bills will have on our lives. So anyway, that's it with me.
Thank you. Next we have Vice Mayor Harris.
Busy few weeks since our last meeting as well in my world. Primarily it was Washington, D.C. trip, which I'll get to here in a second. But here locally, did also attend the Sutter County School Strategic Planning meeting. It was good to be a part of that. It was some good information, some good people contributing to the future of our school system here in the county anyway. Gil Sizer was canceled. Went to the Dunkin' Donut ribbon cutting. That was great. I was happy to see them join the ranks, as our city manager already pointed out. Also attended the fire department first annual awards ceremony at the Gaucher Aquatic Park, which is quite nice. It was a very family event. Everybody loves firemen, I tell you. But and they should. They're good people. But it was very, very good, very positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I won't say the next line. I won't say that. The SACOG Regional Futures Forum, first time I went down to that, it was also quite interesting. They had a lot of discussions about a lot of different things, moving everything forward. If I could take away one buzzword, it'd be regionalization. I think pooling resources is going to be the way of the future. They're just necessary to get communication together so we can kind of, you don't rob Peter to pay Paul and then consider that progress. You want to help each other out and move forward together. Washington, D.C., I was on the subcommittee for public safety. I attended several meetings. I believe it was 4 total formal meetings, and then many more than that, informal meetings, including some one-on-one time with Congressman Barra and Congressman Garamendi, primarily dealing with Beale Air Force Base and how he would like to see us enhance our relationship with Beale and their involvement in our community. I couldn't agree more. If we can find, I'm on the committee, but if we can find any more way to integrate them in that air show, 80,000 people is definitely a really positive way to start that out. The three of the main priorities, there were several, but it affected us locally, or we had some role in, was in the Public Safety Subcommittee, was local government response to emergency incidents, which would be involving mutual aid, enhancing our mutual aid system. I immediately thought of our potential flood scare with the Oroville Dam and getting communications out there, and not just necessarily with the public, but for the emergency response folks to enhance their radio communications, which I believe we just did for our fire department recently as this council here. Mutual aid, there's always training, bringing up people into that system, and it all takes money. The number 2 is the wireless early warning opt-in, opt-out system. Only 1/3, which what that is the alert system of the cell phone. So what we learned was nationally, only 1/3 of people are connected up to that. And we definitely lobbied heavy to see about getting some legislation or some money to require folks, or at least give them the informed option to opt out if they choose to. Some folks would like to be in, but it's simply not available to them. The mobile crisis response team is number 3, which basically, and mental health, I tell you, is the way we really need to get serious. Homelessness is one thing. Very overrepresented mental health problems in that community, but just in general. So when folks have problems, a mental health crisis, they might not even know it themselves because they might have other things working also. And we need to focus on these teams. Sacramento PD, also Sacramento City Fire Department, they have teams that go out and they're all working right now. They're still in the embryonic stages of their programs, but they've seen tremendous success in being able to keep people safe who otherwise may be laying on a gurney in the back room of the ER or sitting in a jail cell. So they have people that are trained, they go in as a team, respond to these things, and the bottom line is to keep people safe and better serve our folks more efficiently. So we're back there face-to-face with the congressman's staff, face-to-face with the congressman, things we would not have otherwise been able to do. Here we are representing our town, Yuba City, and the Sacramento region. And it really is, it's nice to see them light up and develop those relationships with those folks, get their business cards. I've called a couple of them already since we've been back. And I really think it helps leverage our name and our brand when it comes time to sign on the dotted line and give us some resources. When you have a congressman looking you in the eye across the table and giving you ideas and tips and pointers on your grant application progress and how to do that, what to do, what not to do, and the timing involved, anybody could do that, but we took the time to go back there. And the investment we put on the front end could definitely be realized 10 times fold, or it depends on what kind of money you get, but more than pay for itself, that we would not have otherwise had an opportunity to receive because of that. So I tell you, and to see their enthusiasm, I believe it was genuine on some of these topics, and I'm looking forward to some good things coming out of that response-wise and the relationships you build moving forward. So it was a very informative, I think very helpful. I'm looking forward to seeing some positive changes. Thank you.
That's it. Okay, thank you. And so as far as my reports, we put out the applications for the Summer at City Hall program. So we did receive 56 applications from the students, conducted interviews over a 2-day period. We only have seats for 30, so we have selected 30 students, and also a couple of alternates just in case some of the students end up in a summer class or get a job or something and are unable to make the Summer at City Hall program for the 3 weeks. It's mandatory that they attend the entire 3 weeks, so we would just want to make sure. So we're very excited. We're going to have a full class this summer. I also went to DC and actually was able to talk about the Summer at City Hall program as I did last year. I was able to go ahead and use that program for the workforce and committee and the education committee. And basically the discussions are about the higher education, training, certificate programs, and getting our folks ready, career readiness. So that was the primary focus there. We were able to talk with the Department of Labor as well, which we got some great news as far as partnering with them and being able to produce better programs for our students. Congressman Garamendi as well as Matsui met with both of them, introduced the Summer at City Hall program at both of those, and they were very excited and wanted more details of how we produced that program. So excited how to spread the word on that one. I also was a part of the Brookings Institute panel on the last day before we left, and that again, my area was again the workforce area, and how can we better use our resources? And here we have a huge food and ag area, and how can we use those resources and have a joint companionship with the universities and be able to look at higher paying jobs, the potentials of laboratories and things like that, because our ag is quite different than when we used to work out in the field. So how do we use the new age, the new technology to have that be a part of our ag as well? I will also be taking these programs that we're talking about at the Mayor's Conference in June. I will be on that panel to talk about the Summer at City Hall program again. Attended the Beale Air and Space Expo, which was fantastic.
great turnout. Like we said, I think more than expected. Aside from that, I think that covers it. And just heads up, May 6th at 7 o'clock, CNN will be covering Yuba City as well. So chime into that and see what they have to say. It's about the Sikh culture that exists here in our area. So, okay. Aside from that, that's it. Meeting adjourned.